listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin. To master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Once you walked in a forest of splendor in which everything you did and everything you thought was aligned. It is possible at this time to begin to return to the old knowledge. Intuitive healer and manifestor Julia Griffin is here to talk about this unique time in history when all sentient beings, animals, plants, trees, and the earth are intent on creating this change. The wolves awakened her to the most incredible light, which opened gifts and brought knowledge that she longs to share. You are creators, and you are born to be creators of beauty, possibility, and joy. Join Julia on a journey into a beautiful and magical world where amazing possibilities exist. Let us help open the door. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening with Julia Griffin starts right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to The Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour, and let us help you experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, I awakened with wolves. I met a wolf, and I could hear its thoughts in the same way that I'm speaking now. And they taught me to read the energy field of people, plants, animals, and the energy of the heart. So I can hear all those things, and you can find me at One True Self, ONETrueSelf.com if you'd like to know more. Now, let me tell you about today's guest, because this should be really fascinating. This is Mary Madeiras, who's here to tell us about the Akashic field. But before we get started, I want you to hear her bio, because it makes what she does even more interesting. So Mary's career comprises 30 years of working in network television production and directing, as well as a successful spiritual practice working in the Akashic Records. She's worked for CBS, NBC, and ABC television networks, garnering 3 Emmy Awards for direction and a Directors Guild of American Award. Mary directed 7 top-rated daytime dramas for ABC, CBS, and NBC. She won 2 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Direction for ABC's General Hospital and NBC's Another World, and a Directors Guild of American Award for Another World. Mary also directed 2 morning talk shows for CBS, This Morning with host Gayle King and Charlie Rose, not talking well here, and CBS's innovative show, The Morning Program. She also directed her first film, Walter Balloon, a short comedy which was entered in film festivals nationwide. She received the Emmy Award for the directing team of the 1988 Games in Korea for the NBC network. Prior to this, she directed MTV International and was an associate director for music and dance productions for PBS. One day during a psychic reading, the psychic noticed a male figure over Mary, who informed the psychic that he was the overseer of Mary's Akashic Records. Mary asked what the records were, and the psychic replied she didn't know. Mary headed to the internet to find out, and she resonated when she read about the Akashic Records. Sometime later, in a metaphysical bookstore, she was led to a book that was teetering from one of the bookshelves. The book was How to Read Your Akashic Records by Linda Howe. She read the book at high speed and found it was easy to open her own records. Her encounters with light energies and the people who oversee the Akashic Records was beyond amazing. As Mary says, when we interact with these light energies, there is always a healing activation that creates an inner alignment each and every time. And that's true. Divine has its way with us. Mary also studied at the Center for Akashic Studies and completed 2 certifications, including Advanced Akashic Record certification. She's been opening her clients' Akashic Records since 2008. She refers to them as a powerful healing tool, and she tells us when we share our pains, traumas, and concern, Through a dialogue with the light energies of our Akashic records, we receive clarity, affirmations, and often past life information that transform our everyday confusions and concerns into the powerful rediscovery of our soul and destiny. We remember who we are and why we are here on the earth at this time. It is a deep form of self-empowerment. So, Mary, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. My
Thank
goodness, you've done so much, haven't you?
I was going to say after all that, we should just conclude, you know, there's nothing left to say. Um, but
No, we have plenty to say.
yes, I love bringing the idea of the Akashic Records as a tool for life to people. So thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me to this conversation. Because it's some people have heard about them, and we're hearing a little bit more about what they are, because in history, historically, they've only been accessed by, I mean, thousands of years ago by holy mystics, holy people. But because consciousness is expanding and the vibration of humanity is also it's raising up, we've been saying the veils is thinner. It kind of is. We can hear more easily beyond third dimension. If you notice, there's so many more psychics, right? There are a lot of psychics out there, and it's because people are accessing that part of themselves because it's easier to these days. So yeah.
So, what exactly are the Akashic records? I know, but not everyone knows.
Yes. So the Akashic records are, it's in I should say it as a collective, it's in an ethereal realm, and it contains we could say the spiritual imprint of every soul's journey, lifetime after lifetime. The idea being that we are a soul, each one of us, that chooses to incarnate into each lifetime, um, choosing what like an overarching theme will be. We don't choose to come into a creepy family or a lovely family. We choose a bigger theme and like self-love, let's say. And in that lifetime, we're sort of banging around on this planet in search of or to learn more about self-love, if that's the example. So what happens with the Akashic Records, because it is quantum, and it's ethereal, so we can't touch it and see it, but it is this quantum imprint. And so the records contain everything that every soul has ever experienced, said, done throughout every lifetime. And so when we open up personally, when we open up our own records, we are it's like our own library in a sense, personal library. And the divine keepers of our records, each one of us has these energies. They're not spirits or ghosts, but they're light energies that are with us all the time. And they protect the sanctity of our own records. So when we visit our records, we're accessing our own imprint, so to speak, and we can then receive more of ourself. It's always an affirmation and a remembering. They help us remember who we are and what we chose to come here and do. Since we have such a challenge in third dimension and being on our planet, there's a lot of challenges. And because of that, we quite often get off of what our soul's journey is. And so when we visit our records, we just get right back. The divine just guides us gently right back to why we're here and what we're here to do. And it happens, I'm going to say 100% of the time, whether I'm in my records or those of a client, that people are just guided back to who they already know they are. So we're not given
We could
anything.
say that too in a really easy way. People, whatever we're attracted to that's positive, this is really a memory from a past life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place we had a talent before. We may develop it in a different way, but it is coming from a past life a lot of the time.
Quite often it's a past life, and so are some of the blocks. If there are some blocks, in particular, when people come to the records and they say to me in their records, I don't know, this keeps happening and I can't figure it out. Quite often it is a past life, and because we know that energy, and we know everything is energy, and we know that energy doesn't die. And so the energy of every single lifetime that we've ever lived is actually still in our DNA, because we also know our DNA is energy. And that's really very powerful. It's a powerful resource we have. Our DNA has that, right? And that's why what you're saying is something can come up and we can resonate with something and it doesn't make sense in this lifetime, then most likely it's a past life. And it becomes a
Yeah.
resource and a tool for us. So what happens for me is, and why I am working in the records, I'll say, is when I first started to began not only studying them, but opening my own records, I began hearing blocks of thought that were not my own. And I know the difference. And I think we all can fine tune that. There's a difference between something that comes in and our mind hasn't conjured it up and something that our mind's conjured up, right? And so that's what was happening for me. And it was amazing. The 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 themes, the messages that were coming through about humanity, about so much. It was almost like it reminded me of Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh, kind of like that. Um, and
Mhm.
so, I was like saying to myself, okay, I think and it was easy, which is another clue to our soul's journey. It's
Yeah.
we have learned on this planet a lot from old paradigm systems that there's no pain, no gain, that idea. And it's completely the opposite. It is actually, or the things that bring us joy, that feel easy in terms of our
Mhm.
talents, that's related to our soul's journey. It always is. And that,
I said when you're connected, it feels warm, it feels loving, it feels gentle,
yes,
it feels
and, and
uplifting.
easy. It is
Yeah.
supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be difficult. We've been, sort of trained out of that a little bit, but the planet is the future Earth that's been shown to me in the records in the divine realm. It is just amazing. It is an amazing future Earth that is unfolding, and I'm sure you've tapped into that as well. It's not a creepy one.
No,
It's really beautiful.
no, I told my class I was reading a science fiction novel where all of a sudden all the trees come back, all the magical things come back. It's like a completely different song of creation, but it
Yes.
happens almost immediately. And I said, that's one of the images I'm holding for the future.
That is what is being shown. What also has been shown to me or imparted from the divine realm is that we don't, I'm going to use the words this way. We're not eating each other. We're not eating living things. I was shown a planet where we don't have to. And I was
Yeah, we
also,
need very little food.
Mhm. Well, yeah, and I've been shown that as a humanity, when we began, we didn't need to. We lived off the energy of the planets and the earth itself. So, interesting how science fiction, so many of our science fiction, we call science fiction movies and books, we're really tapping into kind of where we're going, you know?
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
love
the
that.
wolves told me that in the beginning, that everything was here and everything gave you energy, and you only had to wish for something and it would appear in your hands.
Yes. Oh, I love this. I love your story. Like, wow.
Well, we can feel it when we
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. You know, that the world was so new and that it was a beginning and it just beamed so much energy to all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it's interesting to see what you have been getting as well. I'd like to know, but what is being shown and through many reputable psychics that are tapping into, things, that there is this separation that's happening, this giant separation. And it is, we'll say, old paradigm, old systems that hold us down, have been holding us down, old belief systems. But there is this separation, and the new that you just spoke of, and that I get, which is the same, that new is happening. It's happening now. It's not going to happen. As that happens, the separation is going to become so apart, so far apart, that one will not recognize the other anymore. And I've seen evidence of that already in friendships or in encounters that I have where I can see I'm not even seen. Have you experienced that? Like, I'm not even seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there it is. It's
Hi,
happening.
hi, I'm here. Yeah.
Yes, it's trippy.
Mhm.
Um,
I think
so
that's part of the reason that people think it's hard because they're thinking about what they're going to leave behind, which we really shouldn't think about. We want to let go of the old and embrace the new.
Absolutely. It's like just opening your hand. That's what it feels like. Just open your hands. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Just that kind of surrender. And what is this new planet or this new phase look like? It looks like we don't have to be in control of everything anymore because Gaia is totally in control of everything. She's fine, even though we think I've heard people saying she's mad at us, she's whipping us, but no, no, there's a shift.
No, that's machines. That's all
That's
engineered.
machines, I agree. So it's not needing to always know what's going to happen. And I actually, it's interesting. I grew up in a family that my father was really drunk most of the time. And so we never knew. It was an unknowing. We never knew whether he was going to be okay or drunk. And so I learned that not knowing is okay. It sounds weird, but I did learn that. And then I went into live television and I directed news, CBS News in New York. That's not knowing. You don't know what's coming at you when you're live on the air because you're live. So things can happen and you can't control them. You can guide them or go for the ride of the energy. So I did really well with that, and I know now why. Already had that training as a child. So I don't
Right.
mind not knowing. I'm okay. I trust in nature. I trust in divine, and I trust in Gaia. I totally trust. And that's what we have to do.
Right. And for some people, that will take a little bit of time. But what I've found is that when I'm at a higher vibration, it's easier to do.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
You know, I mean, I'll
Hmm.
go like I'm running an hour late, and on a good day, I'll go, well, it doesn't matter. You'll figure everything out. You'll change it around. I'm like, okay, cool. On a bad day, I'll go like, what's the matter with me? I'm so
Yes.
untogether. I should
Oh
be
my
on
God.
time.
I have this too. I have the same thing. I know. And then well, it's good though to have that awareness of that, because then when it's happening, you can go, whoa, which side of this am I on right now? And then go to our tools. That's why I love the Akashic Records. I
Yeah.
mean, I go to the Akashic Records a lot for things, for clarity, for when I'm feeling like, what's wrong with me? I go to the Akashic Records and I'm reminded that I am this divine essence, which we all are. You can't not feel that when you are in the Akashic realm. You can't not feel that because that's who we are and what we are. It is not some bearded man in the clouds called God. It is what we are. We are that. And
Right.
it's just there are higher light energies that are us that can sort of tap on us and go, we're going to remind you, we're going to remind you. That's what it feels like. When
Well, it's
Hurricane,
pretty fascinating to me with the work you're doing, like a soap opera, for example, you're using the Akashic Records to make that easier. Tell us how that works.
to make which easier to
To make your job as a director easier, your actual work.
Well, what's interesting is when I was working with actors, I mean, I will be again, I'm actually moving into films now, but and writing. But when I was working on the soaps, I would, well, here I was using my connection to this realm and I wasn't conscious of it until I visited the realm and became familiar with it. But when I was working, for example, with actors, I would, right on the set, I would have an idea of something. And usually the more seasoned actors were the ones that I could bring something, maybe that wasn't written on the page, something else, another interpretation of the scene. And when I would say it, a lot of them, this happened all the time with me, they'd go, oh my God, I love that. Where did you get that idea? They would say, where'd you get that? And I would kind of put my hand up and go, I don't know, it came in. And we'd keep
Mhm.
working. I never
So,
said I thought it up. So I was already doing that, right? I was
right,
already hearing something, and we all do. And maybe we just need to be reminded about that aspect of every one of us. We have this connection to beyond ourselves 24/7. It's what we're made of. So I was already doing it, right? And how it's informed, not just directing. Well, I mean, I've learned a lot being in my own records. I've learned what I'm here to do more. I've also learned that everything we do in our, we'll call careers. Careers a word that the records would love to just get rid of because it has a perception to it. But chunks of time in our lives that we do things, quite often we think, well, that was 20 years ago. That's over there. We put it on a shelf. Now I'm doing this. And the records bring it all back out again, almost in a mind map, like a spiritual mind map, because everything we've ever done, nothing's random. It all plays into where we're moving to and who we are and why we're here. It all does, no matter what. It could be the plumber that's now writing screenplays. There's something there.
Other
And
thing is,
so,
if you've been here for a number of lifetimes, you have a lot of different pieces of yourself.
yes, it's like they refer to it as like a giant toolkit. And we can just go in
Mhm.
our toolkit and pull out our assets that we might need at a particular time. Um, where also the records helped me in, I'll say in the entertainment industry, was in this way. I was accessing my records several years ago, and my records, I would sit at my computer and just listen, and I would pose questions, write them down, and here. And I heard, Mary, you are a writer. And I disagreed with my own records, which I think is very funny. So I got 3D about it, and I went, no, I'm not, I'm a director. And the records just gently, it was just this gentle download, and it just said, your records show you writing and very successfully. Don't worry about it. It will be so easy that you will question it. So I just closed, I remembered this reading, and I closed my records, and I didn't understand it. And I thought, well, I don't know, because I don't know how to write. But I did, and I didn't know I did. So the records were showing me that. And as soon as I surrendered to, I'm not going to worry about any of this. I'm not going to worry about how to, whether I should or not. I just sort of, it always feels like I just opened my hands. I got a call to write a screenplay and be paid to write that screenplay. And it was like
Right. So it was
immediate.
almost immediate.
It was practically immediate, yes. And it was my letting go and going, okay, I'm not going to worry about it. It's probably part of me. I don't understand it yet, but it's okay. And then that happened. And then what I also realized was that, or I put two and two together, when it became time to actually write a formatted screenplay, again, I questioned myself. We all do this and said, I don't know how to, the format, blah, blah. And I was, again, another whisper. I heard, Mary, you've already been studying this. I had been taking workshops, doing workshops on the East and West Coast with basically the guru of screenwriting globally, Robert McKee. And he's written a magnificent book called Story. I had been taking his workshops, I thought, to become a better director. They were writing workshops, but I thought it would make me, it would help me understand character more and be a better director. When in fact, I was learning how to write and didn't know it. So it's just, I find life so fun. It's just fun when we discover these things because they're like hidden in
So,
plain sight. They're right there. And the records
so I
mirror,
wanted to ask you,
yeah.
when you open the Akashic records, what does it feel like? Do you feel like you're going up? Do you feel like you're going to a specific location? Does it just
But
pop in?
yeah, great question. Well, I use a sacred prayer to open the records, and the sacred prayer is it kind of opens the portal. My intention, my commitment, my knowing, the prayer. By the time I finish the prayer and I announce the records are open, I'm already, I just know I'm in this vibrational space. It doesn't
Right.
feel differently, except that my ego is not there. And I know my ego's not there because I've tried to have an opinion. I've never shared this with anyone, but I've tried to have an opinion within somebody's reading, and I can't. I have no, because there's no judgment in the records.
Mhm.
In divine, there is no judgment. Of course, we do that.
You're losing your critical or logical abilities to some degree
Absolutely.
when you're there.
Yes. So I'm present. They use and part of my prayer is to use my imagination, my way of speaking, to impart what for the highest good of that person and the highest good of anyone
Right.
connected to them. That's my intention. And I just know that it is so. So what things will come in that make no sense to me. I don't know these people. and it'll be a word, it'll be sometimes a picture, or I'll see a past life sometimes, and it never fails. Something will come up and the person will go, well, that's interesting. You just said that because da 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 da. And
Right,
when we're in our records, we're answering our own, whatever we're seeking, we're answering ourselves in it. We're answering our own questions. The records encourage us in that direction. So it's not a download of you're this and you're that. It's not telling, they don't tell us what to do because we have choice, of course. And if there were
right,
some telling voice, I would know I was not in the records. And that hasn't happened yet, thank goodness. Yeah.
right. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like hearing from your inner self. If it's a criticism, it's not your inner self.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It might say, there might be, you can do this differently, or you can go about this differently, but it's not like you're wrong, or
Right.
you should do this, or you shouldn't do that. It doesn't come
Exactly.
through like a parent. Be a good way to say it.
Yes. And quite often too, there's an entourage of light energies known as the masters, teachers, and loved ones that, again, what I've learned through Linda Howe's work, and it resonated with me. So this entourage, they each have a role. They protect the sanctity of the records. Most of them have not been physical and ever, except the loved ones as a collective. And the loved ones are the energies of anyone we've shared love with in this lifetime specifically. And so
Right,
often there'll be an energy I can feel. It could be a somebody that is that person, that client shared love with and is on the other side. And it's unlike, it's not a psychic reading. It's not a one-on-one chit chat, which works. This is different. They're holding, it's so beautiful that that loved one is holding the energy of the goal and needs of that person as they're visiting their own records.
yeah.
Beautiful.
And a lot of love, I would add. And you said grandmother because mine popped in when you were talking about that.
No wonder
A
that came.
good call. So we're going to go to break. I'm Julia Griffin at onetrueself.com. I've been talking with Mary Madeiras about the Akashic field and how we can find healing through greater understanding of light, some of the changes that are coming to the planet, and how you can understand the Akashic field more. It's a fascinating subject, and we'll be right back with more. Welcome back. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to The Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk, Transformation Radio. I'm talking with Mary Madeiras about the Akashic field. We're going to talk about how this information is useful when people go through struggles, and we may talk a little bit more about the future, and she may tell us about the book that she's currently writing. So stay tuned with us for the next half hour and prepare to open your mind and learn more. So, Mary, you were going to talk to us a little bit about the crisis in North Carolina and what the Akashic Record tells us about that.
Yes. So when I was, I live in a part of North Carolina that was greatly affected by Hurricane Helene. And one morning I kind of heard um, post hurricane, right after the hurricane, offer some free readings for people who have gone through this. And it just was one of those messages I got when I woke up. And so I did that. I did postings on all the groups here, and it was pretty amazing what came through. Um, the people who show up, I should also say, people always come to their Akashic records, which is why I'm not a marketer of them. I can't, it does, I've always heard, just don't worry about it. Just do people's readings and the rest divine will take care of the rest. And so it's interesting to me who showed up to respond, who responded to wanting those readings. So for about 3 weeks straight, I did the most readings I've ever done. And what I came to learn was it Gaia mad at us and she shook everything up because no one was listening? No. The one thing I did hear about from the Akashic realm about, in particular, Hurricane Helene, where I'm in the Asheville area, and Asheville is filled with portals of energy. It's kind of known. And two things happened. The records imparted to me that the portals there was an intention to crack them wider open for the flow of wisdom and knowledge from beneath us, which is Atlantis. And I had not known that I was in an area that was Atlantis. Now, Atlantis is it encompasses a huge area out into the ocean. It's not just here. But what I heard was you're sitting on knowledge and future technology, which is really ancient technology. And what's very interesting is that Asheville does attract not only alternative healing, but alternative healing devices and technology. People wind up here from all over and they start these businesses. We've noticed this since we've been here. So the hurricane itself, it was sort of like a dual thing. It was to shake up the energy more, to attract more light to it with these light portals. And at the same time, it enabled people to look at their lives as well at a pivot. It created a pivotal. It was a good thing, not a bad thing. Yes, there were some people that were hurt. We're not diminishing that. But it shook everyone up. And it also became there actually was a third thing that came through was evidence of the power of love. Because what's still happening here, the systems failed, the federal system has failed the people here. It doesn't matter. The people have risen, they've come together. 9/11 did the same thing globally, and it's a grand design of love. So, we could say, do we need to have a hurricane and, whatever to have this happen? No. And what I've been shown is that in the future, there won't need to be those kinds of events because automatically people will be riding on love first, no matter what. So it was all of that came through. And then each person that came to have a reading, it was pretty amazing stuff. They found it wasn't about, look what the hurricane did to me. It was more like, I am now in this space and place. Help me. I don't know what to do. And what it did was it solidified or reminded, I should say, each individual more about why they're here. So it's beautiful. And so that's becoming a second book before I even have my first book out. My first book is called The Akashic Way. And it is basically life through the lens of the Akashic Records, because when we run anything through the lens of the Akashic Records, it's just divine downloads of beauty and reminding ourselves of our own divine power. No matter what, that's what happens. And the divine moves on the spoken word. So as we're when we're conversing in a reading, the divine is moving through and the expansion of each one of us grows and we feel more of ourselves. And that's where we're heading. And so that first
It's a higher vibration, so it's vibrating above our karmic past or our limited perceptions and beliefs.
absolutely. It's so amazing. Most of the time, people clients don't want to leave the records. I don't. When I open my records, I just want to stay in them. And it's because of what you just said. It's that higher vibrational state that we are. We're made of that. That's what we really are, or who we really are. So the first book is more of an intro. My first book it is not about the records. There's some information about the records for those that don't know about it from my experience. But what I decided to do was take since 2008 readings that I've done myself and the wounds that I've been healing in myself and present that through the book as an example of the Akashic Records in action. So I'm kind of putting myself out there a little bit, but I felt like it was really important because I'm not the person that should teach about something. I use example, and I am the example of this in action. So that's what the first book is about. And the second one is about this particular crisis, but what a crisis does. The beauty, the power, not even the beauty, the power of a crisis. It's pretty amazing. And if you look through history, that is what has happened. 9/11 was when those buildings came down, and I lived in New York, that was the grandest design of global love. If you look at what happened after, of course.
Well, I
And
think we're getting a repetitive message that we don't necessarily need all these government agencies. We just need love and community.
yes, and that's, thank you for saying that, because that's exactly what is happening still in Asheville. There was a caravan, I reposted this on Facebook. There was a caravan that someone shot of tiny homes driving into the Asheville area because FEMA did not provide housing as they said they were going to. And so I don't remember who provided it might have been Home Depot, somebody like that, some group. And there were these people just driving these tiny homes into these people who are homeless for these people. So it's like love.
You
And
also had mules. You had a man with mules
yes, it was
delivering
the mule.
things.
That's right,
Yeah.
mules. Oh, and just people grabbing their own, people who had their own tractors would just drive when they heard someone in need, or build a bridge that had come down. They would just do it. They wouldn't wait for any permission. They would just go do it. That's love in action, and that's divine. That's what it's about.
It
So
is the divine. Because
yes,
there's an energy that moves through you and it moves through you in such a way that it's very helpful in the right way. So I wanted to ask you something that relates to my personal experience. When I was living with wolves, they started showing me that they had been there for all the big initiations of my soul, like we went through past lifetimes. Then later on, I was living in a community and I realized they were the same community, both in Scotland and England at different times, that I had served as a priestess. And I mean, I wasn't looking for these memories, they just came in.
mm-hmm.
So
So
does the Akashic records just sometimes come in?
that's a great question. Yes, the answer is yes. They just come in. And
Right,
that's because our divine selves are always speaking to the whole of us. And the divine selves meaning wherever we've been in our past lifetimes as well. Absolutely. And it's fun when we know that, when we say yes to that, what you just described and what you just said, and go, this is truth, then we're seeing signs of it all over the place. Things show up. There's no such thing as random. We know that. But a lot of people think there is random. And what people call random comes up. How can you not? For me, I see random, what people call random, and I go, oh
mhm,
my gosh, that's meaning this, or even my being nudged to move somewhere else, which is what I'm getting lately. There are these things that are coming up, and some of them are totally unrelated to moving, but I know they are related to that I'm being called somewhere else. We'll say that. So
right. It was like after I had that, 2 or 3, I guess 4 or 5 years after I had that experience about the community, I felt that I finished them and I moved on, which was interesting.
well, and then that
It
community
was
is
like,
still, it's still in you, right?
yeah, of
Part of
course.
who you are. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. And then it becomes, I like the word asset, these spiritual assets that we have, that we think were just, a career over there. No, they are spiritual assets. And we can look at them, when we look at time periods, past lifetimes as spiritual assets, then it's like, I'm reminded of Joe Vitale in The Secret, that old movie now. And he sits there with a book, and it's really all of humanity. And he goes, I think I want that, and I'll have that, and I think I want that, and I mean, it really is. We can have everything that we desire. We can.
And
The
that
other,
is one of the messages that's coming through for the new earth, if we want to call it that, or the
yes.
new world would be better.
There is another message that's coming through. I think it's in my first book. Um, this is a trippy one, but I've always believed it or known it and didn't realize I knew it. Immortality, not that our souls come back, we know that, but literally immortality, that we have a right to immortality. We can live as long as we choose. We really can live here as long as we choose. That's a tough one because religions will shoot that down, right?
Mhm. And everyone around you will say, you're this age, so you should look or feel or do this or that.
That's right.
That's
Old paradigm.
so I just say I don't give my age because I don't want your perception of it.
I love that because there is no time. There is no time. And so if there's no time, then where are we fitting in? I also, actually remembered this. I grew up Catholic and kind of knew when I was really little, like things weren't making sense, but I wasn't bucking it or anything. I just knew when I grew up, I was going to seek and go and expand in some other way. But I do remember that like there are folks in the Bible, I'll call them folks in the Bible that lived to 700 and 800 years old. So it's interesting how some religions that do follow the Bible, they'll cherry pick certain
Mhm.
aspects of the Bible that are real, but then the other aspects, like, was it Moses, 700 or 800 years old? And they'll go, oh, well, that was just magic or something else.
Exaggeration,
Yeah,
right?
I know, an exaggeration. It's like, well, wait a minute, they
Yeah,
lived
but
hundreds.
Jonas lived inside the whale for 3 days.
Oh,
That was
right.
okay.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I couldn't get that either. How some of these things are fine and they're real and other ones aren't.
Right. I didn't understand that. I also never understood, and this brings me back to the Akashic Records, is that when I was able to access the records with such ease and grace, I realized I was already connecting up with the divine. When I was very little, I liked church. Well, now I know why I like church. I had a past life as a cloistered nun, and I always
Right,
loved
which most of us did because it was the safest place to go.
it was the safest place to go. And
Yeah, yeah.
and Hildegard von
Well, it
Bingen.
was.
Yeah, I guess it was, but sometimes it wasn't so easy. But anyway, I
Yeah.
loved church when I was little, and I loved the music, and the church was in Latin when I was very little, and so I do remember though being like in second grade, and we were being taught that salvation theory that is the basis of certainly the Catholic Church, the Vatican, that we come in stained with sin, and we're supposed to be saved. I came in, no one taught me otherwise. I remember being really little going, that does not make sense because if there's a God out there that is all knowing and loving, and we're in God's image, then why would God create a marred a humanity, earth, planet, whatever? I never bought it and I never talked to anyone about it. I kept it to myself until now, I grow up and then I'm in the records going and it's validated, I'll say. And I'm like, oh, I knew it when I was little. I felt so much better. It felt freeing. Yeah.
Because there's light in everyone. So do you teach classes on your Akashic methods and records?
Not yet. I will be though. I definitely will be doing that. I'm going to probably do workshops. I have spoken on the records to groups, but it's because, what am I can't open the individual records of an entire room, but I'm
Yeah.
formulating, right, but I'm formulating something. So thank you for asking that. Yes, there will be.
It will be here in the future.
You must have seen that. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll teach that in the future. And that will be a wonderful thing for you and for other people.
Thank you.
Because I think we all kind of have to see that because I know from my own past lives, there are places that I've had pretty severe misunderstandings, but seeing the past life and understanding why things were happening as they were, like why was I in a tiny town with a couple hundred people?
Hmm.
And couldn't seem to get out, and I always ended up with them what was happening. But when I understood that they were a community I'd served in the past and people who had loved me, it made a change.
Yes. Yes. And we discover that that's who we were. We're not learning about some history that's outside of ourselves. We're actually learning that that was us. And
Yeah.
so it's very personal and it's very transforming. I agree. I love that. And it helped me when I saw some of my past lives, things that I was struggling with in this lifetime, and I just couldn't figure it out because it wasn't logically making sense. I'll say that. It was a past life. It would be a past life where the energies were around the same thing. And then
Mhm.
it would bring meaning to those past lives. And when we have meaning, then we have understanding, and then we have power.
And then there's integration. In a sense, the part
Yes.
of you that you've discovered and accepted stays with you. It's no longer like a fractured part, like saying, I'm very artistic, but I just don't think I'm going to go there in this lifetime because I'm doing this or that. It's like you embrace it.
You know, relating to what you're saying, I was once, I once was given an example, I think it was in my own records. It was an example of the power of our past lives and the energy of our past lives. And they used an example of an individual today who might, hopefully not, but might get a diagnosis of cancer, any kind of cancer. And if they had if one of their past lives that they know about was a time period or an arena where there was no cancer existed, then their DNA contains no cancer, the energy of no cancer. And so all we have to do is intend that, integrate. It's the word integrate, allow the integration of that, and that power of the no cancer, you allow it forth, and it will see no cancer, and there will be no cancer in our bodies. Now it's a trippy
Because
one.
there's a vibration of it.
That's right. The vibration of no cancer. Here we go. And you allow it forward. And it really is as simple as just intention and allowing, because, you know, today people are like, well, what do I have to do? Because there are books on everything. The 10 ways to do this, the 12 steps to this, da 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 da. And it's like people search for, tell me what to do. What do I have to do? And it's like, we don't have to do anything. We just have to go, yes. It actually is that.
It's easier than the way everyone is making it. To me, they have an idea, and the idea is what they write a whole book out of when it could have been simple. It could have been 10 pages.
Yes.
I did want to go back to what we were talking about past lifetimes, and that was I had a client who was so good with art and color and shape and form, and he did graphics for websites. And I looked back for him one time, and he had been a scribe, you know, because everything was written during the Middle Ages. And
Yes.
he had done that and illustrations, but he had trouble taking care of himself because the church had always taken care of him. And he had very wealthy people who would come into his life as clients and sometimes give him bonuses, just as he had within the church. And the interesting thing is he had to stop doing that to become independent enough to live on his own. You know, like he had to have a slight divorce from that.
Interesting. And then did he return to it? Integrate it?
I don't know if he will or not. He's just completely now moving into not feeling like he needs someone to take care of him. So I think that when he gets to that point, then he probably will come back because he's very artistic and has an exquisite sense of color and shape.
Yeah, that's a great story. Wow.
Mhm.
And it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so I'm just saying that so people can know that what you'll find in the Akashic records or from past lifetimes is so it's like it's a living energy, a living memory. And it's so different from what you might think it could be, or how it affects you, or how you feel it.
It is a living energy, and it's quantum. Oh, well, actually, because it's a living energy, when I record everyone's reading and then they get it, I send it to them. And the readings themselves, when you listen back, they change. Not because we've changed. They literally change.
Right.
I've had people write to me a year out or from a year ago, and they'll say, I just listened to my reading from a year ago. Oh my God, whatever. And it's different because quantum energy shifts like a snake. It just moves, right? So it does really change.
Right.
And I think that's why you can pick up sacred tomes or sacred texts that are, I'll just say that are real, maybe the scrolls. And when you hold them, you can feel something. Or you'll read it
Right.
and something else happens, and then you read it again a year later, whatever, and it's different. I think that's why. I mean, I say that's proof of this. the divine.
Oh, I agree. I remember having a friend stay with me and I gave her a book to read and she asked me if I would read a section to her and I did. And then she went back and she looked and she said, what you read isn't there. And I said, but it's there when I hold it. And she looked
Oh,
and she was like, oh, you're right.
there you go. There's an example. That's
So that's,
beautiful. I love that. It's
people
trippy.
forget that everything, if we go higher, it's moving.
It's moving. And it's just, and we can't, I'm going to make up a word, logicalize it. You just can't. It's not linear. And when we get out of linear, oh my goodness, that's the future Earth, non-linear.
Right.
Mhm.
So we're coming to an end, and Mary, I so appreciate your being here. Do you
Yeah.
have anything that's upcoming that you can tell our listeners about, or would you just like to direct them to your website?
Well, the hurricane had me in a little bit of transition as well. So upcoming, no, except my books. These two books, and I ask for the spirit to just have them come out at lightning speed because what's in them will really help people. And to get to me, I have a website which is spirittherapybymary.com. And my email is adivinerealm@gmail.com. So you can reach me through the website or through my email. And I
So
respond.
people, do you
Mhm.
do readings still?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I will always be doing readings because they're so needed. And I can see what the expansion that occurs that I'm a part of, like I get fed the expansion as well as other people are just expanding more within themselves. And it's so beautiful, like, and easy. So I know it's right. And I know I'm here to do this. I know it's a calling. Mhm.
I totally understand. So we've
Yeah.
come to the end of the show, and if anyone wants.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Join us next time as Julia takes us deeper into the memory of the moments of light where transcendence and enlightenment emerge. The memory of the jewel of consciousness is always lived within you to tap into waves of energy and create huge changes by imagining the beauty of the vision and desires that are hidden in the heart. Learn to find your way back to nature, beauty, and your own heart, which holds the secrets of your existence and future. To discover more about Julia's adventures, animal communication, and the teachings she brings to every show, visit onetrueself.com. That's onetrueself.com. That's ONE, trueself.com.